Your Excellency, Mr. President, Your Excellency, the immediate past President of Kenya, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, I'm told that I'm running against the clock, so I'll try to be very quick through this presentation. What I'm presenting today is an update on Nigeria's National Development Plan for 2021 to 2025, but also an introduction of the Nigeria Agenda 2050. I have a background to take you through the status of the implementation of the plan, challenges that we must mitigate, and then the lessons and opportunities that must be learned, and then the strategies that we're adopting for the Nigeria Agenda 2050. And this meeting is a very opportune time for me to just mention that broadly the plans that we have put in place have overarching goals of economic diversification, employment generation, infrastructure development, and poverty reduction. The medium plan NDP 2021 has in addition a unique objective of establishing a strong foundation for concentric economic diversification, implying that the Nigerian economy was diversified, but the focus of the plan is to deepen that diversification within sectors that each sector can substantially increase on its contribution to the GDP. The ministry has completed the medium-term plan 2021 to 2025, and the Nigeria Agenda 2050 is expected, with the permission of Mr. President, to be launched in November or December 2022. The overall vision of the NDP is for Nigeria to unlock its potential in all sectors of the economy for sustainable, holistic, as well as an inclusive development. The National Development Plan 2021 to 2025 is designed to accelerate growth, to deepen the initiatives for concentric economic diversification, to foster sustainable development. The plan also has intended to lift 35 million Nigerians out of poverty and generate 21 million jobs by 2025. Thus, this will be setting the stage for achieving Mr. President's agenda of lifting 100 million Nigerians out of poverty over a 10-year period. The total planned investment size is 348.1 trillion naira. The plan will be driven largely by the private sector, which is expected to contribute 86% of the investment size, while the public sector, and this is to say both federal and state governments, will contribute 14%. Improvement in revenue is projected to be 15% of GDP by the year 2025. The plan is unique in a number of ways. One is the process for preparation of the plan was not only participatory, it was also consultative. The plan benefited from the lessons learned from previous plans. The plan also has 3 volumes, and this is the first time we're producing a plan that has 3 volumes. One is a policy document. The second one contains prioritized and costed projects and programs that will form the basis of annual national budget. And volume 3 deals with the legislative imperatives. That is to say, laws that are binding constraints that may need to be amended to enable the full implementation of the plan. The plan is underpinned by a strong macroeconomic framework, and our target is to achieve an average of a 5% growth on an annual basis. Growth is envisaged to come from agriculture, from trade, from services, construction, manufacturing, communications, financial services, to mention the major ones. To achieve this growth, the plan is also emphasizing on improving the ease of doing business and also ensuring competitiveness by improving product space as well as product complexities. The status of the implementation of the 2021 to 2025 plan is that we have produced the abridged version, and this has been launched, so that's completed. Also, there's a communication plan that has been rolled out that is completed, although in a way it's also still ongoing. And then there's also a preparation of the implementation of the plan implementation document. We have received inputs from ministries, departments, and agencies, and we're now at the final stages of validating those inputs. The development plan volume 2 is also, we're going through the prioritized concept programs and projects to be able to extract projects that will be suitable for privatization in the form of, not privatization, for private sector partnership in the form of PPPs or other such models. The identification of capital programs and projects for the MDAs that are suitable for PPPs means we have had to engage bilaterally with the MDAs, and we're at an advanced stage of doing that. We're also working to ensure that the MDA sector plans are fully aligned with the National Development Plan. And we're doing that in part through service-wide circulars issued and also through bilateral engagements with MDAs, but also with development partners. And this is ongoing. We are also implementing the volume 3 of the plan. Volume 3 of the plan is completed. We have formed the technical working group. We've constituted the working office environment, and also we're working very closely with PEBEC, the President's initiative on the ease of doing business, to amend and review laws and policies that present binding constraints to the implementation of the plan. One of these laws is the Business Continuity Bill, the Fiscal Responsibility Act, and there's also a couple of others. We have also started the process of inaugurating the National Steering Committee for the implementation, and we're getting inputs of participants from the ministries, departments, and agencies. Identification of capital programs and projects is very important because that is how the private sector will see projects that they can invest in and partner with government in investing. Where the plan is heavily tweaked towards funding by the private sector at 86%, it means we have to do everything possible to remove any constraints and also to enable the private sector to actually fund infrastructure and other developmental projects in the country. To this end, we have put in place an interministerial technical committee that is to work with all MDAs to review their programs and projects, and also to identify those ones that are not just ideal for PPP, but also support in preparing the projects for investment and for attracting financing from green sources as well as from ESG sources. The ministry is working with the ICRC in this regard, with the BPE and the Debt Management Office and other relevant agencies to package the identified programs and projects ready for business investment. Excellency, ladies and gentlemen, permit me to just speak briefly about the challenges and the steps we need to take to mitigate these challenges. The first of all is there's still a weak alignment between the budget and the plan. When we were doing the 2023 budget, we found quite a number of MDAs were presenting programs that were not contained in the plan. And that is against the principle that we agreed on. There's also the question of the dwindling revenue. We have been implementing the Strategic Revenue Growth Initiative, the SRGI, and we have ticked up a lot of the initiatives on the SRGI. We're ready now by November to launch SRGI 2.0 to help us to address a number of issues that are causing dwindling revenues. We also must address the issue of oil theft to improve on revenues from the oil and gas sector. We must also continuously work to expand the tax net. There's also the question of inadequate infrastructure. For PPP arrangements, there is a need to ensure that there's an enabling environment that increases private sector investments. And also to prepare our projects and package them well enough to attract private sector interest. The private sector is to take the leading role, and it means we must increase sensitization, increase awareness of what is available, and also increase awareness of even the incentives that are already provided, and ask what the private sector needs to enable them invest in these developmental projects. On the issue of insecurity, a very significant challenge, I'm happy to just report that we are beginning to see improvements, and we hope that this improvement will continue, and that it will also help to mitigate some of the global effects relating to insecurity that are upon us. The inadequate alignment of MDA's capital programs and projects, I've mentioned this before, but we will need to ask each MDA to have a project implementation unit to make sure that this is done on a consistent basis. On the alignment of state development plans, we need to make sure that working with the state under the banner of the National Economic Council, that the state development plans are aligned with the national development plan so that we can achieve the collective objective for the nation. There's also the challenge of inadequate legal framework for plan continuity. And I'm saying this because this is important for us to make sure that we are able to put in place a legal framework that protects our plans so that subsequent governments will be committed to continuing projects that have been started by this administration. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, permit me to introduce to you the Nigeria Agenda 2050 and the framework that we have adopted. The Nigeria Agenda 2050 builds on the same recent national development plans such as the Vision 2020, the Economic Recovery and Growth Plan, and the Economic Sustainability Plan. The Nigeria Agenda 2050 is formulated against a backdrop of several subsisting developmental challenges, both domestic and local, and the need to address them within the framework of a 5-year medium-term plan. The agenda is a prospective plan designed to transform Nigeria into an upper middle income country with an average GDP growth of 7%. And this is a GDP of $12 trillion by the year 2050. You recall that our current GDP as of 2021 is 457 billion with a per capita income of 5,240 per Nigerian. So with this projected 12 trillion, we should be able to move income per capita to 33,328 per annum. More specific strategies, programs, and interventions, and the important task of implementation will be articulated through 6-year medium-term plans. So we'll have plans, including the current one that ends at year 2025. The next ones will be ending year 2030, year 2035, and year 3040, right through to year 2050. There's an institutional arrangement in place. There's a steering committee. Under the steering committee, there's a central working group, a technical working group. We have 26 technical working groups covering different thematic areas. Each of them is engaged in extensive stakeholder consultations and have qualified resource persons supporting them. And then there's a secretariat under the Ministry of Finance, Budget and National Planning. The process of developing Nigeria Agenda 2050 started September last year. The President inaugurated the National Steering Committee for the preparation of the medium-term plan as well as a longer-term agenda. The committee is co-chaired by myself and a private sector participant, Mr. Tedo Peterside. The institutional framework have 2 other levels, the National Committee, the Central Working Group, and the Technical Working Group, and we have 26 thematic areas, technical working groups. We adopted a participatory approach involving a wide range of stakeholders, including youths, civil society organizations, women groups, but also major political parties were invited into this. And the plan is data-driven. Each aspect of the plan starts with examining the data that is in place. The plan is built on inclusion. We're using an inclusive lens for every analysis and recommendation that is taken. And the goal is to drive broad-based economic development across the entire population so that we don't leave anyone behind. The implementation considerations are built on existing structures and focus on ensuring that strategic measures are linked to clear indicators, clear targets to facilitate progress monitoring. The institutional arrangement is as I have indicated earlier on. And this is the path that we have taken so far. And if you look at the end, what we're hoping is that by November this year, we'll be able to go to the National Economic Council and to the Federal Executive Council for approval. And then by December, we set up the PRU and have Mr. President, with his permission, launch the Nigeria Agenda 2050. So in terms of building the future and making this agenda a reality, the strategy development process offers an opportunity to build on complementarities of programs in the economic and environmental as well as social spheres, and also to improve the long-term effectiveness of government policy agendas. The plan outlines success factors and key elements that will facilitate implementation, building on lessons from previous national plans. The goal is to lay a strong institutional structure and systems in driving efficient implementation of the targets in the plan towards building a united, peaceful, democratic, as well as a civilized and prosperous country. Key principles being considered in the successful implementation of the plan includes resource allocation, sourcing of the resources itself, continuation of the implementation of the plan regardless of the political changes, coordination and ownership by government, as well as the significant contribution from the private sector. The plan, the medium-term plan and the Nigerian Agenda 2050 is formulated against the backdrop of existing economic and social challenges, both local and global, and the need to address them within a framework of long and medium-term plans. These challenges include low fragility, non-inclusive economic development, high population growth rate, pervasive insecurity, limited economic diversification and transformation of the economy, but also the need to improve productivity and also to reduce reliance on imports. The plan also addresses challenges which include unconducive business environment and limited external competitiveness, deindustrialization, huge infrastructure deficits, especially in the transport and power sectors, governance challenges, climate challenge issues, limited fiscal space, and high incidence of poverty, unemployment, and inequality. The National Development Plan 2021 to 2025 and the Nigeria Agenda 2050 therefore outline the pathway to achieve accelerated, sustained, and broad-based growth and provides broad frameworks and approaches for reducing unemployment, poverty, inequality, and human deprivation. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for your kind attention. Good afternoon.